Are you afraid of being replaced by AI in your daily work?
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's a tool. I think, for a marketer, somebody still has to write the strategy. Somebody still has to write the ship and set the vision and the mission. And AI is just an amazing, amazing tool for us to do our jobs in a better way.
There we go. So let's start. Well, thank you, Jan, for joining us today. And welcome to the second episode of Smartketers, a conversation with tech experts using artificial and human intelligence to make smarter decisions. So first question, Jen, going straight to the point is, who is Jennifer?
Well, first, thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk about sci-fi and tech. In fact, I think I've been doing these kinds of conversations since I was a kid, and my career actually is a little bit of every child's dream. I've been in toys and video games my entire career, but as a child, my dad was really instrumental in bringing science and technology to my life. He used to take me out of school to go see movies like the Terminator or all the Star Trek movies. We used to watch a series on PBS called Nova, which was about science. And he even got us an Apple II Plus. I know many people are like, what's that? But in the early 80s, when I was a kid, it was one of the first personal computers in your home. And that's where I got my passion for gaming. I played a game called Wizardry, which was probably the first RPG game. Another fun game called NORAD, which was so fun. It was about defending the world from the end of nuclear war. So very positive theme for a child who's only 8 years old to play. But all of this early exposure to this type of science and science fiction and computers really led me into what ultimately became my career, which was going into the video game industry. And so today I'm the marketing and growth lead for Riot Games. I work on a game called Teamfight Tactics, but I also got a chance to work on League of Legends, in many cases, the world's biggest game for many, many years. And it's been just like a huge pleasure to work at companies like EA and Zynga and Scopely and see the evolution of the game industry and the evolution of tech and AI and machine learning in the game industry. So probably a little bit of a long answer for your very first question on who I am. But at the end of the day, I'm just someone who loves science and tech and loves going to work and making cool stuff with really cool people and trying to be on the bleeding edge of doing things with cool things.
That's amazing. And considering all your background, how would you define AI?
So it's funny. I immediately just think of The Matrix, which is my favorite movie of all time. And the real answer though is it's really an invigorating new tech that trains the robots to be 1 trillion times better than humans. But we have to realize that the outputs are only as good as the inputs. So when you think about AI and where it can go, you have to think about it from as a source for with good intentions and not necessarily for use it for good and not for evil. I think that's something that I'm personally worried about, seeing all the post-apocalyptic movies of my childhood. It's like, how can machines go wrong? But I think where I come from from a work perspective is, what can machines do right? And so that's how I think about it.
That's amazing. And considering your daily life, like if you could share with us from 1 to 10, how much do you think AI will affect the way in which we do things, we live in general? Like, what's your answer over there?
Yeah, I probably rank it around an 8. I mean,
8.
There really isn't anything that is as exponentially growth oriented as what AI can do. Imagine across so many different industries. So not even in gaming, of course, my industry where we use a lot of it today, but think about in medical, the ability to get healthcare to millions and millions of people around the world. Think about manufacturing and improving those processes. Think about commerce and We all have a love-hate relationship with Amazon, but so much of that can be driven by the ability to personalize, getting the best prices and the best products for what you're looking for. Even climate change, I think so much is being done with the ability to build new batteries and what Tesla is doing. Everyone thinks they're just cars, but the ability to harness these types of batteries is going to have such an impact on climate change in the future. And all of this is coming from the AI, to be honest.
That's amazing. And if you could like do an analogy with other technologies, do you imagine any similar transformation over history? Like you're going to mention internet or computers, or what's the example that comes to your mind?
Yeah, I'll give you a weird answer to that. So lately I've been watching a lot of period dramas. So like one was called Victoria, which is about Queen Victoria. So in the Victorian age, I'm an American, but I think British history kind of fascinates me because they were some of the leaders in pioneering, technology. So Victoria's reign was 64 years. And over that period of time, like I think it's actually a period we can look to and see in that amount of time she created and helped foster, of course, leave it to a woman to do these things, just saying. But the subway, like the underground was created, railways were created, educational advances, like women were finally allowed to be educated, the abolition of slavery, workers' welfare, all of these things happened in her 64 year period of reign. And I think we're in that, if you think back 64 years from now in the late 50s, look how far we've come. And I think you are seeing an exponential rise in the ability for us to increase our advances with AI and where that's taking us. Just in the last 10, 20 years, I mean, the curve is just shooting up so dramatically. So I actually don't think there is a great comparison, but if I had to, I would pick the Victorian era.
That's great. It was weird, but a great answer. So thank you for that. So entering and going direct to what we do every day. Like, do you use AI in your day-to-day in marketing, in your decision making, in your teams? What can you tell us about that?
I wish we used it more than we do today, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of advances and a lot of great use cases. And, it's something that right now hits us most in marketing and in the ability to do user acquisition. So Google and Facebook are two great examples of, using a technology. It's a little bit of a black box to everybody, but the machine learning that they created, obviously created by humans, is really, meant to help us find the best players for our games. And I think there are so many kind of other places to go, but today that's the primary use case. We do some modeling. So inside of our games, we do a lot of modeling on trying to match players with other players so that the skill sets are relatively the same. And I wouldn't call that kind of AI in the truest sense, but it is a close way for us to help players have the best experience inside the games, because no one likes to, like if I'm playing basketball going up against Michael Jordan, like that just sucks. For me, maybe he's fine with that. But, if you are able to be matched, more one-on-one with players, that's kind of one way we use it today, but there's so many more opportunities, I think.
Well, that's my next question is, where do you see opportunities? Like the main opportunities you see maybe on the gaming vertical or in marketing in general?
Sure. Yeah, I think for the first thing is we have to be careful to use AI for good and not for evil. To my earlier comment, I think there are lots of ways we can get greedy with using AI, and there's lots of ways that we can kind of abuse the system. I think we've heard some of the stories of coming out of Google about how sometimes there can be some unconscious bias going on in how AIs are developed. So it's something just to think about. On the good side, and at least at Riot Games, where I am today, we put players even above the business, which I know that also sounds really weird. It's truly unique in the industry. And so I would love to see us use AI more to have players have the best game experience, Some of it goes to what I was just talking about matching players up. Some of it goes to reaching new audiences. We have great games. We would love to have more players playing those games. Sometimes it's hard, in the cluttered world of everything going on. It's difficult to reach new players and get that message in front of players. So I would love to see us use AI to find more of those players to help match people up with things that they want. I wish there was a better way for players to say, I'm really looking for the next great strategy game. I really love mastering new strategies and new skills. And then that kind of matches you up with Teamfight Tactics, the game that I'm working on that just is so much fun to play. I mean, we just announced we have like 10 million DAU, 10 million players a day play our game on PC and also on mobile. And, I wish more people would come and play because it is such a fun game. And I didn't ever think I would say that about a game where you basically have to do a lot of math. And I'm not very good at math, ironically, in this conversation. But, if you can help more people find products and services that they love, I think that's a win-win for everybody.
That's great. And considering AI helps us make better decisions, better predictions, are you afraid of being replaced by AI in your daily work?
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's a tool. I think, for a marketer, somebody still has to write the strategy. Somebody still has to write the ship and set the vision and the mission. And AI is just an amazing tool for us to do our jobs in a better way. I wish I had some of these tools when I was first starting out in the industry. It had to be very much the old-fashioned way with surveys that took 6 months for you to have a picture of your players, but now that's 6 months old. So using these types of tools, we can have a much better look at what's going on today and help match up great games with great audiences today.
That's great. And for the community, any final thoughts, Jen, to share with all the marketing community all over the world? What would you tell the community in general?
Don't recreate the Matrix, unless, of course, the Wachowskis are doing it, which they are. And I'm so excited about that next movie to come out. And hopefully it will come out soon. The world needs some more Trinity out there in the world. I think where we can help is making sure to utilize and test new services, share the results as best as you can, right? You don't want to give away trade secrets, but I think more testing and more surfacing of what is useful to all the different marketers. I think podcasts like this and sharing insights. I love that content marketing is such a great strategy for different companies to get the word out because I think it is important.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Jen, for joining us today. And it was a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
My pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.